What are the absolute limits of what a person can endure? Today, we're diving into one of the most radical attempts in history to answer that exact question. We're talking about the 6 long years of grueling, just unbelievable self-punishment undertaken by the man who would eventually become the Buddha, all in his quest to conquer suffering itself.
I mean, really think about it. How far would you go to find the ultimate truth? For most of us, that's kind of a philosophical question, right? Something to ponder. But for this one man, it wasn't a thought experiment. It was a challenge he took on with every fiber of his being, a true trial of body, mind, and spirit.
And look, everything we're about to go through comes straight from the ancient texts that describe his ordeal. This is his story, in his own words. He was on this quest for supreme peace, and he was convinced the only way to get there was through the complete and total mastery of himself. But what's really fascinating is where this incredible journey began. It's probably not where you'd expect.
So his journey doesn't start in some grim, torturous place. No, it begins somewhere of immense natural beauty. See, after leaving his teachers, the Bodhisattva, and that's just a term for someone who's on the path to becoming a Buddha, he's traveling through this region called Magadha, and he's looking for the perfect spot. The contrast here is it's incredible. He looks at this beautiful, peaceful, idyllic grove, a place you or I would think of for a picnic or something, and he doesn't see a place to relax. Nope, he sees the perfect arena for his struggle.
And with that one thought, this serene landscape totally transforms. It becomes the backdrop for a feat of self-mortification that is just unparalleled. The struggle was about to get very, very real.
Now, this is really important to understand. This wasn't some random, chaotic period of suffering. He wasn't just winging it. This was a structured, methodical approach. He actually took on 4 specific vows, or practices, that would guide every single thing he did for the next 6 years. Think of these 4 vows as the very pillars of his new ascetic life. Each one was specifically designed to systematically just dismantle his attachments to the world, both physical and mental. And it all started with penance and squalor.
So, that first vow, penance. What does that actually mean?
Well, it's the active infliction of hardship. The whole goal was to break the body's demands, to prove that his mind could absolutely triumph over matter, just through sheer force of will.
And then you've got the second vow, squalor. If penance was active, this was all about passive neglect. I mean, he literally let dust and dirt cake his body for years. He never washed. The whole idea was to become completely, totally indifferent to his own physical form.
Okay, so that's the theory, right? But what did these vows actually look like in practice, day to day? Well, the reality was just this relentless catalog of deprivation that pushed the boundaries of what a human being can possibly endure.
Let's start with food. His entire relationship with eating became this incredibly complex ritual of denial. He set up these super strict rules just to minimize how much he ate and to detach from any kind of pleasure. We're talking about limiting which houses he'd even accept alms from and, at some points, get this, eating only once every 7 days.
And the food he did allow himself, it was often stuff that you or I would consider, waste. He foraged for anything he could find. He even resorted to eating the dung of young calves. The goal here was pure sustenance, completely 100% divorced from taste or desire. And it wasn't just food. He rejected all comfort in his clothing, too. While other people were wearing, cotton and silk, he clothed himself in materials that were coarse and, frankly, pretty macabre. We're talking shrouds taken from corpses or antelope hides with the claws still attached. So his commitment to staying calm and balanced, what's called equanimity, it was tested in the most extreme ways you can imagine. He literally went to live in charnel grounds, cremation grounds, surrounded by bones and death. And even when local kids would come and mock him, urinate on him, poke him with sticks, he trained his mind so that he felt absolutely no ill will, no anger, no resentment. It's just incredible. So you have to ask, what was the result of all of this? What does 6 years of systematic starvation and hardship actually do to a person? Well, as you can probably guess, it had a devastating effect on his physical body. I mean, at the absolute peak of this austerity, his daily food intake was sometimes reduced to a single fruit a day, a single jujube fruit. Imagine that. A diet of pretty much nothing meant his body's decay just accelerated at this terrifying rate. And the way he described his own condition, he used this series of really powerful, visceral similes.
He said his arms and legs became like knotted, withered creepers, his buttocks like a camel's hoof.
With all the muscle gone, he said his spine stuck out like a string of beads. And his ribs jutted out like the rafters of a ruined, collapsed shed. You can just picture it.
But this next one, this is maybe the most shocking description of them all. He said, when I thought to touch my stomach, I would instead grab my spine. He was so emaciated that there was almost nothing separating his belly from his backbone. The front of his body had nearly met the back.
I mean, his body was just shutting down. Even its simplest functions were failing. He said that when he rubbed his arms or legs, the hairs, their roots, literally rotted from the lack of nourishment. They would just fall away from his skin. It's this final, stark image of a body on the absolute verge of total collapse.
So, after all of that, after reaching the absolute limit of human endurance, after putting himself through every single hardship you could possibly conceive of, the big question, the fundamental question, still remained. 6 years. Think about that. For 6 years, he lived like this, balanced on the very edge of death. It's an almost unimaginable length of time to sustain something that extreme.
He had pushed the human body to its absolute limit. His whole idea was to conquer suffering by suffering. You could say he tested a hypothesis, right? The idea that the path to real freedom could be found by completely crushing the body. And he went further than anyone else, taking this practice of asceticism to its absolute ultimate conclusion.
So, after this profound 6-year ordeal, after all the hunger, the pain, the decay, had he found it? Had he found that sublime peace he was searching for? After taking his body and mind to the very edge of existence, was this the path to the ultimate truth?